sorry, control space connection dot prepare statement, followed by you have to pass the query you would like to execute on database, and here I am writing that as query string variable, but that variable is not defined yet. Now let me define that variable. String query equal to, sorry, insert into the database table name you would like to give here. User underscore details is the table name I would like to give. Values, first one is, let me describe, let me write the core query first and explain to you later. Here this is insert into. Insert into is the insert statement we use to insert a database. We use to we use to insert a record in a database table, and this is the table name. Values is the next one, and here we are using two question marks. You can technically call them as parameters, dynamic parameters, because why we are specifying question marks here instead of the values directly, because we are capturing the values dynamically during runtime from our login form, and we have to supply whatever the values we have captured. That's why we are not specifying those values statically. So these values are dynamic values. That's why we are representing those dynamic values with the help of these question marks. You can technically call them as parameters. Now we have to provide these values to these parameters. We can do that with the help of prepared statement object methods. So now we are providing values to these named parameters with the help of methods of our prepared statement object. Prepared statement dot set string to which named parameter you are going to set value. That is, first argument represents the parameter index, and the second argument represents the parameter value. That is, in our case, our dynamic value, that is username value. Yes, prepared statement dot set string second index, and value is password value. Now we set the values what we have captured from our login form into this prepared statement object. Now it's time to execute the queries. Now let me write a comment on these statements stating the purpose of the code. Now it's time to execute the query. In order to execute a query, what we have to do is we have to make use of a method that are part of that is part of our prepared statement object itself. Prepare statement dot execute update, because we are using an insert statement. That's why we have to make use of this execute update method. And the return type of this execute update method is an integer value. Now let's look at the prototype. Execute update, yes, it is integer here, the related one. It is an integer value it is returning, and let's capture that return value. Int affected equal to so and so. So after capturing the values, the return value by this execute update, we write the code to send data saying how many number of rows inserted into a database table. So in order to send such kind of information to the browser, we need an output stream to send data to the browser. That's why let me create an output stream first. Create an output stream to send data to the browser. For that, we are making use of printWriter class. Out is the variable reference name I am using. You can make use of response objects getWriter method, which will give us this output stream. For that, here let me write that one. Out dot println statement we use affected plus here we are writing the static content here. Row inserted, just one row inserted, like message like will be sent to our browser. Now let me handle the exceptions. What are the what kind of exceptions may rise during runtime? Yes, now let us look at the code. Class.forName. Here, if this driver class is not available, so it will generate an exception of type class not found exception during runtime. So in order to handle that exception, now let us write the code here. Class not found exception. Send information to the browser saying driver class was missed. Now we are sending that information. In general, we don't send this kind of error information to the browser, but in our example, let us see that one. Out dot, sorry, here you can make use of this exception object e dot print stack trace method, and you can use this print writer out. So whatever the exception message given by this class not found reference will be sent to our browser. Here we are specifying the printWriter object, so the whole exception stack trace will be sent to the client. Now let me write one more catch statement for this connection problem. When the connection was failed, you will get an exception of type SQL exception. In the same way, e dot print stack trace followed by out we use. Now finally let us handle this catch all exception. That's it. This is the end of if statement. Now what if the user entered some spaces or some space, or if the user doesn't enter any kind of data? So now we are writing the code to handle such kind of situations. So in this statement, in this situation, we just notifying the user, please enter data. Such kind of messages we send from our server to client stating, hello user, please provide those two details. Now we are writing that code out.println hello user, please enter username and password. Such kind of message we are giving, because in general in real-time application development we handle such kind of errors at the client side itself with the help of JavaScript and JavaScript. So if the user doesn't enter any kind of value in the username field, there itself we notify the user stating, hi user, please enter some value into the username because it is a mandatory field. We can say such kind of messages, but this is a simple example. That's why I haven't uh, explaining all those things. In this example, we are just seeing how can we capture the data from a login form, and how could we store that data in a database table. This is the our example scenario we are seeing. Let me save this file. So these are the things we have seen as of now. First one is this login form, and next one we have developed a servlet application. Now let's view the content of this web.xml file. This code is automatically written for us by our IDE, and now let's look at this welcome file list tag. It's time to see that one. Now let me explain with the help of this browser. In order to run our servlet, what what is login web application? Login web app is our application name. So in order to run our application, we type this address in our browser's address bar, localhost, where Tomcat is running, and 8000 is my Tomcat port number, followed by our context path. Login web application web app is the context path, context directory name. So when we hit this enter key, we will get a page not found exception like this. So in order to avoid or such kind of messages, or in order to give control to the user, when a user hit this kind of address during address bar, or in order to display some web page to the user, we configure the web page depending upon the directory's path typed by user with the help of this welcome file list. Now when the user types this same address in address bar of a browser, what we will do is we will display our login form. For that I am configuring welcome file list. So this is the default page for a web page. You can configure here. Welcome file, that is login form.html is the file name. Now it's time to add the third-party libraries. I mean the jar file that we use to communicate with the MySQL database server. Because here we are using this driver class to communicate with MySQL database server. All these libraries doesn't come with the Java library. That's why we have to add such kind of third-party libraries to our project's build path. So in order to add those third-party libraries, what we have to do is select the project and give a right click and choose this build path option and click on this configure build path, and it will take you to these libraries, and select this add external jars. So with the help of this dialog box, move to your MySQL third-party libraries where resided on your machine, and select this MySQL connector jar and click on this open, and finally select this OK button. Now it's time to run our application. In order to run it, select the application and give a right click and choose run on server application option. Now it is asking us to which server you would like to deploy your application. I would like to deploy